Shaq should have. I'm going to say this one more time from the top of a mountain. Shaq should have shut the GOAT debate down. It should not have been another GOAT debate. Shaq should have finished it. It should have been Shaq and then everybody else who Shaq was at that time, what he was doing during that time. It should have been him and everybody else. There wasn't anybody in the league. As much as I talk about Tim Duncan and as much as I talk about Tim Duncan being the best player in the league, Shaq, in terms of his dominance, in terms of him finishing around the rim, how much he attracted defenses, how physical he was, how different he was as a player, he should have shut the GOAT debate down. It should have been done. So not just the GOAT scorer, the GOAT player. It should have been done with him.
Let me ask y'all this, and
scoring
and I know this is going to seem like an odd question, but try to understand what I'm asking. Which player outside of like the three we've kind of all decided have legit GOAT cases? That is Mike, LeBron, and Kareem. Which player outside of those do you think has the best GOAT case? And no, Mars, to me, this isn't me asking like, oh, who's your fourth best player? Who's your fourth? Because I don't think that's the same thing. I think
it's not, but the answer is obvious.
Bill Russell.
And you're gonna say it's a gimmick when I say it's Bill Russell.
Oh my
I
God.
say it's Bill
okay,
Russell.
wait. Modern basketball. I'm not.
Since the
So
merger.
when is modern basketball?
Since the merger.
Anything
70s, but
past
yeah,
80?
since the merger. Thank you.
So
Since the
since
merger.
Bill Russell retires, I guess cool.
Yeah, since the merger.
It's Tim
Three-point
Duncan.
line. 3-point line is modern basketball. Let's say that.
It's Tim Duncan. Real
I'll say
talk. Real
Tim or
talk.
Shaq.
The answer is Tim Duncan.
I think it's
Tim or
Shaq.
Shaq.
I'm with you there, Will Talk. Because like he's the best player of anyone who's left, and he's the only one that has a case to be the best player of Shaq, LeBron. Like he has like of LeBron and MJ, he has a case as the peak. I think a lot of people here would agree that 2000 Shaq might be better than MJ or LeBron. I don't know if I do, but there's a case.
I'm not having fun no more since I can't pick the right answer. So.
Oh, brother. Ron, I see you making faces. What's your answer?
Chill, you want to go back off the screen before I say this?
He's gonna say Kobe. He's gonna say
Kobe.
Kobe.
I mean, I'm not
I'm
mad
with-
at Shaq's case either, but like
Y'all know I keep a jersey close.
the
You think the answer is Kobe too, right? Real talk.
Yeah.
But isn't the problem that
Really? Okay.
Michael Jordan is just better than Kobe?
Yeah, but they're saying if those three don't exist.
No. Who has the best case outside of those three is what they're saying. Not who's number
Oh.
Yeah, and it's Kobe.
Oh.
To me,
Yeah,
my final
I
answers
understand.
as far as who would have the best case, I actually think an argument to be
Is it Will?
made is going to be Shaq
Will.
or Tim.
No, modern era.
I would say
Will.
probably Shaq or Tim.
You
would
know
have
what,
Kobe personally, but an
Shaq or
easier
Tim in
case
my
to
answers,
make.
yeah.
Why are
Would
we
be
taking
Shaq.
out?
Hey, real talk.
Why are we taking out those other guys? Why does it have to be the modern era? Why?
No,
Why
because
are we doing it?
He doesn't
Because
want
for
to
whatever
watch
reason,
it.
the guy with 5 MVPs and 11
Yeah,
championships.
what the hell are we doing? Why
How
is that
dare
going
you?
on?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because
I
there are
don't get it.
8 teams in the league, brother. Like,
Yeah, and of those 8 teams in
Real
the
talk
league,
asked the
I've-
question so you can
okay.
set the criteria. That's what
I've
happened.
said
Yeah,
this one more
exactly.
time.
Real talk
I've
is
said
one
this
to
as,
keep
ma-
Kobe
as
Bryant,
many
man.
times as I can possibly say this,
You just gonna
Damien.
count
Jerry
Kareem's
West did
whole
not play
career
for the
when Wilt
Celtics.
Chamberlain
Elgin
and
Baylor
Kareem
did not
overlapped
play for the
title.
Celtics. Oscar Robertson did not play for the Celtics. Nate Thurman did not play for the Celtics. Willis Reed did not play for the Celtics. Wayne Embry did not play for the Celtics. Wally did not play for the Celtics. Not the best players in the league were not all on the Celtics. There was a bunch
Jill,
of
do you
decent
think
players
that
in the
Bill
league.
Russell is a better
Bob Pettit-
basketball player than Tim Duncan?
Bob Pettit did not play for the
He has
Celtics.
Bill Russell at 5.
Jill, do you
Jill-
think Bill Russell's a better basketball player than Tim Duncan?
Being a better basketball player does not make you.
No,
does not just mean
but can you
better.
just answer that question for me, please? Do you think that Bill Russell's a better basketball player than Tim Duncan?
No.
I do.
Can you ask him the same question about Wilt? Can you ask him the exact
Do
same
you
question?
think
about Wilt?
do you think Wilt is a better basketball player than Bill Russell?
Yes.
Can you ask him about Wilt and Tim Duncan?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think you can. I don't know. You're acting like
Yeah.
there's a wall
Better
between you
basketball
and
player
Jill.
than
I
Tim
don't know.
Duncan. Yes.
No, I
yes.
just wanted
Let me help
to.
you.
You
Look, you're right
can
next
ask.
to each other.
I'll ask.
Yes.
You think Wilt's better than Tim Duncan, true?
I do think Wilt is a better basketball player than Tim
So a player from that era can be better than a player from the modern era.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But I
according
mean,
to you.
y'all, we could put context behind
Yeah.
this, bro. Like, and I hate to have to do this, but it's like, come on, y'all. Like, it was just such a different NBA. And I'm not even talking about the style of play. It's just like in the NBA, there's 30 teams, the playoffs are longer, the series are longer, it's more opponents, it's more that you
Less
have to do
talent
to
that I
get
have
an
to get through.
MVP.
Less
And
talent
so
that I
it's
have
just
to get through.
It's global.
Okay, I
Like,
actually have another one I can make.
None of this was true about Kareem's era, but
It
he's
just
on
wasn't,
my top three
and it
unanimous.
wasn't true.
But
And it wasn't
it's-
true about the
it's-
Western
it's-
Conference
it's-
either in the
if we
80s.
want-
I don't have
wasn't.
Kareem in that
No,
tier.
but you was fine saying, "Oh, the unanimous top three, MJ, LeBron, and Kareem." That's fine.
Because
But his era can count.
Because I'm not going off what I think. I'm saying the consensus is that Kareem is in that tier of player. If
Which
you're
he is.
asking me personally, I don't have him. So I was saying outside of the three players
Why
that
is he
the consensus
in that
the
tier?
consensus
Why isn't he in
has
that
come
tier?
to determine that those three are that tier player of everyone else who has a better case. That's what I was asking.
Why isn't
For
he
me
in that tier?
personally, no, I don't have Kareem better than Kobe.
Why isn't he
or
in that tier?
Duncan.
Real talk.
I don't.
What's the problem? Why isn't Jabbar in that tier?
I mean, similar to what Mars like. I mean, he dominated the 70s, which I mean is cool.
Okay.
In the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Don't act like the 80s didn't catch work from Kareem.
They did.
Kareem was spanking
But a lot of
defenses
the
in
80s,
the
he
80s
was
the
worse
same way he
than
was
Magic.
spanking them in
A
the
lot
70s.
of the 80s, he was worse than Magic. A lot.
That's just how good Magic
and
was.
a lot of the 2000s, Kobe was worse than Shaq. You don't want to hear that?
That's
do you?
actually not true.
You don't.
Since
Oh Lord, it was like
Yes,
the first-
it was no. Once we got to 03,
From
03
2000,
forward, Kobe
from
was better than
2000,
Shaq.
from 2000 to
03
2009.
forward, Kobe was better than Shaq.
I mean, but real talk though,
Time?
I agree with you, but I'm just making a point right there. I'm just saying, like, just because you are
I have
number
four
two
forwards.
to somebody, or just because
I mean,
somebody's better than you, don't mean that you wasn't cooking that era. Like a lot of people would say Jokic has been better than Giannis this era. What does that take away from what Giannis has done this era?
When you say he
Yeah,
dominated
but
the 70s, real
but-
talk, you
but-
mean do you mean that he dominated the 70s? You mean that he dominated the 70s in terms of the center position? Is that what you mean?
no,
I mean, he was just by
He was
far
the
He's
the
best
saying
best
this-
player in
he's
the league.
saying the 70s was
best
weak.
player.
yeah,
He said
that's
he
what
was
it
weak.
What? So the 70s was weak. So is this era weak too? Because we got 7 different
new
champions.
every year. He's gonna say new champions.
Yeah,
every year.
we got
No.
new champions. in the
This
last
era is
7
not an
years.
that's
expansion
not-
era. The
that's
70s,
not
the
the same
70s went from
thing.
14 teams to 22 teams. And if anyone knows what expansion does, it dilutes the talent pool, which is why I have no
100%.
idea why
And
the
the
top teams is a
ABA.
problem. It makes no sense that we can understand that expansion dilutes the talent pool and then minimize a league that had less teams, which would mean the talent pool wasn't diluted. But away
Yeah,
from that,
but also
away
when
from
you're
that,
in-
Kareem
when
went
you're
from
in
14
the
teams to
first
22
stages of a
teams in the
sport,
80s.
obviously all of the best players that takes into account the years better of training that we have, the evolution of the sport, the evolution of like all of that goes into factors of why we discredit the early stages of basketball. But
Which I'm perfectly fine with. Just discredit Kareem. That's all I'm saying.
okay, and again, for me personally, I don't have him in the top 3 or 4. I have Shaq and
that's
Tim
fine.
and
Okay,
Kobe better
that's
than
fine.
him.
I'm speaking to more than just you. I'm speaking to the world.
Since we
The world
are
of basketball. If you're
It's not
fine
just player
having
for
Kareem
player,
in your
though.
top
It's-
3,
Okay.
but then you're gonna say Bill Russell and Wilt don't count because their era is whatever.
No.
When
we
Bill
do the same
Russell, Bill Russell retired the year Kareem entered the league. Like Bill Russell retired and then Kareem entered. Wilt
Sure.
Chamberlain and Kareem overlapped. Wilt Chamberlain won a championship while Kareem was on the planet playing in the NBA and was probably the best player in the world. Wilt Chamberlain was winning championships. That's what was happening. Willis Reed, who played in the 60s, was winning championships while Kareem was in the NBA. So if we're going to discredit Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain's era, you have to discredit half of Kareem's career. You have to. It just doesn't make sense to not do that.
Nigga still got a GOAT case. Take the
That's
70s
fine.
out.
I'm
I
not saying
still
I'm
got a
not
GOAT
saying
case.
he doesn't. I'm not saying he doesn't. It just doesn't make sense to say Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell and Jerry West and Oscar Robertson and Elgin Baylor, their stuff don't count. But the moment Kareem enters the league valid. That
Okay.
doesn't make sense.
Yes,
I'm actually a proponent. Actually, me personally, I'm
The
a
60s is
proponent
better than
of
the 70s, by the way. But
even though this is going to even hurt my favorite player, I'm actually a proponent of as we continue to go forward in the sport of basketball, these top 10s should be dropping as we hit a new decade. Hey, we done with them 70s niggas. I'm sorry. It's just way better players playing right now. I'm
So is
sorry.
the limit
If we
50 years?
look
Is that
at era
the
to
limit,
era,
50
chill.
years and you gotta leave 50 years. You gotta leave?
Exactly. Chill. If you look at the 70s, who is the SGA to Kareem? Let's make Jokic the Kareem of this era, right? Who's the SGA in the 70s?
Have a check.
Next super chat.
Okay,
Just so you know,
better-
have a check.
Better
Since-
score than James Harden. Y'all have a check. Y'all heard what
Since-
Drake said yesterday. Y'all heard what he said about Hondo.
Since we are era texting, I would say Steph Curry actually has the best case, because if you put him in any other era post the 3-point line, he just destroys that era to no, like he changes that era to
His
such an
coach would
extent.
bench him and say, "Stop taking shots like that."
Yeah,
That's what
if
would
the
happen.
coach is dumb, then Steph Curry is not good.
Oh, I'm not
Coach
saying
is
you're
smart.
not.
Well,
That is a
the
dumb.
coach
But I'm
is
saying
dumb,
you would be.
because-
I mean,
benched.
to be fair, every coach didn't really understand. Not every coach. There was a few who were progressive.
If it's
Most coaches didn't
reliant-
understand the value of a three. Most coaches
no,
didn't
for
understand
sure.
the value
But
of
if it's
I don't think anyone
reliant
can
on a
sit here and
coach
say like
making
I don't think anyone can sit here and
obvious
say, like-
wrong decision, and if he doesn't make the wrong decision and just let Steph shoot the threes that he should shoot, then he destroys the NBA, because the other teams don't think the three are like. If you put Steph Curry in, the coach is gonna see when Steph hits a couple of threes, oh, he scored 12 points instead of 8 in those shots. Maybe that guy is actually should just keep shooting threes, and the other teams are going to have to adjust to such an extent that doesn't make sense to have
But
any.
what about
goal
the
debate.
eras where there's no 3-point line?
Oh yeah, then
Well,
it's a different conversation.
you said that doesn't count for this conversation.
Yeah, for sure. That's
No, but he said throughout all eras of basketball.
I
No,
said
he said
since
since the
3-point
3-point line, because
Oh,
that's the
since the 3-point
stipulations
line?
that were put out. Yeah.
But
Oh yeah, he'll be
also
benched
that
for
level
some
of
coaches.
shooter would
They
still
just wouldn't let
give you
him do it.
something in the 60s and 70s, just not as much. But he would just break any team in the 80s and 90s because they're not used to defending the three like Steph shoots it.
Drago, you do understand that they changed all the rules for Chamberlain for him not to be as good as he was, right?
And do you know what? They'd had to remove the 3-point line for Steph.
Okay, the
he's
three-point
made
line
like
came
6. I
in.
don't think
First
he's
and
gonna make
foremost, the
the three-point
three-point
line
line
for
came
6.
in for the advantage of small players because
Mm-hmm.
of big guys. But once again, they changed all the rules for Chamberlain for him not to be as good as he was. That's why they widened the lane.
That's true.
That's why that's why they widened the lane. That's why alley oops were what they were. That's why you had to stand behind the free throw line to shoot free throws. And he still was awesome. Still.
Absolutely.
they banned
Didn't
dunking because
win.
of Kareem as well. Right?
Chill.
Yeah,
Who's
that's how it
who's
is,
the
though, in college.
chill?
Correct.
Who's
In
the
college.
who's the Giannis of the 70s?
Dr. J.
If Jokic is Kareem
That's what I was
and you
gonna say.
said SGA
He's gonna say
is
Dr. J.
Havlicek, who's the Giannis of the 70s?
I was gonna say Doc.
In the ABA.
It was in a different league until 77.
Mhm.
But this is the era that counts. But God forbid we say
he
the
was that
60s.
great.
No.
They made a whole different league for him.
And for the record,
Yeah.
I mean, and for the record, just so you know, Mosman only played 2 years in the ABA. George Gervin only played 2 years in the ABA. It's not like he played 8-9 years in the ABA. He only played 2 seasons there.
Mhm.
Doc,
You know what? I'm
Doc
here.
played.
I'm
Doc
here.
played
I'm
4.
here.
Doc showed up to the NBA, and Doc showed up to the NBA in '76. He was 25 years old. It wasn't like he was 29 or 30. He was 25, 26 years old when he showed up to the
I
NBA.
think the
Damien.
conversation gets hard.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the conversation gets hard when we can, like, to Real Talk's point, we can't really sit here and kid ourselves and say that Bill Russell was a better basketball player than Tim Duncan if you see
Or Will
footage of both.
Chamberlain.
But the
or
problem
Will
is that
Chamberlain.
but the
Both.
problem is
Well,
though
I
is
can't.
that it has to be
I'll kid myself.
has to be contextualized for error, and has to be contextualized for the evolution of the game, which is why these conversations are really difficult, because we can say that if we drop Bill Russell, like some people say, like if we drop Bill Russell in today's era, he'd be DeAndre Jordan, for example.
I heard Nick
But it's
Claxton.
not
That's what I
accounting
heard.
for Nick Claxton. It's not accounting for what he could become. You know, if you look at it in other ways, and similar to like putting Steph Curry over there, or putting LeBron over there, or putting MJ over there, like it's very difficult to have these types of conversations because our eyes tell us that Tim Duncan's a better basketball player than Bill Russell, but contextually, to Mars's point, you can't also discount what this guy's achieved in his era. So it's too hard to sort of come to a consensus.
It's the panel. Religion get built on cam. Where the check throw smoke and the hoes go ham. You ain't never seen hoops all hit it raw. Every take got weight, every night we drop. Yeah, this that barbershop. Courtside, worldwide tone. Welcome to the only show that really feel like numbers jumping like the score.